Good morning and welcome to Monday Morning Gasoline. I'm Mikhail Kazervitsky, and today we have a special guest, Nathan Hall from Ledgebrook.
How are you doing? Thanks for having me.
You're very welcome. Uh, Pleasure to have you on. As my first guest back, Monday Morning Gasoline started as a motivational podcast for Monday mornings, mixing technology and not sleeping enough.
Gasoline.
Gasoline, yes. That would have been a better line. I can only do one good line a week. I did the. This is the only technology podcast worth waking up for.
That's good. That's good.
So Nathan, thank you for joining me this morning. I brought you on because you're working at a insurtech startup building technology, and with Monday morning, I love to talk about technology.
Yeah, no, it's really exciting. Ledgebrook, I didn't know anything about insurance before I joined a year and a half ago. But what we do is we are an E&S broker or E&S MGA, which is a managing general agent. So we bring the best of insurance veterans. We've got people that have been doing it for 100 years, and technologists, people that have been doing programming in different industries for 100 years, and we provide insurance coverage to a bunch of different industries. So we just raised our Series A back in December for $24 million. So things are picking up, starting to hire a lot more people, and really trying to improve our technological advantage to really leverage what we do best, which is speed.
So, I mean, it's not a secret that this has been last year was a horrible fundraising year. So for you guys to be able to raise that in the environment means you probably got something pretty cool.
Yeah. So in the past, let's see, 9 months, we've done $10 million in direct written premiums, which most people think of as revenue. And the thing about insurance is, what I like to say is there's something very sexy about how unsexy it is. It's more antiquated than healthcare, which I was in for a long time. And my anecdotal thing that happened recently is we hired a new product lead, and we build our product internally for people to go out and sell insurance to our brokers. And well, I wasn't very happy with what we had built, but one of the things that it does is it generates a quote that they share with the broker, and a quote's just a PDF document. That is it. And he was able to do it like on demand. And he was like, "Oh my God, I can do this, and it takes like 2 seconds to generate. Like at my old place, it would take 48 hours." And so those are the type of things that we're dealing with. It's like making things just marginally better every single piece of the chain, and it's really resonating with our brokers. All they care about is how fast can we get them a quote back.
Yeah, when we prepped for this, I didn't realize that in the past, like commercial insurance was not nearly as fast as like you can't go online and easily buy like you can car insurance. Like I couldn't go and insure this place online today except with a company like Ledgebrook that audit.
It's even harder than that. So for something like commercial general liability, so if we want to insure this building, you go, you go to a retail broker and you say, I need to get coverage for slip and falls and the property. And the retail broker says, sure, I'll help you out. And then they go and they send it off to the wholesale brokers. They generally don't go direct to someone like us. The wholesale broker takes that, packages it up into the final application, and then it goes to someone like us or to someone like a full stack insurance carrier, and then we do it, and then it goes even further. It goes to the insurance company, and then it goes to the reinsurers. It's just like this huge chain of about 6 people to finally get like that. That's the whole product.
How long does that process normally take?
I mean, there's different pieces of it. I mean, in general, like the quote thing's the most important things for a broker. So it's like they give us an application and we turn around and tell them this is how much coverage we will give you and this is how much it'll cost. That takes us, I mean, we've done it in minutes, but in general, they say it takes like a week at best. So it's slow.
So how do you make that fast without like making bad decisions?
That's the proof is in the pudding and how we do it. So we've done $10 million so far. In general, and what you can look at from a general liability, commercial general liability, you're talking about a 70% loss ratio, which means for every $1 you write in premium, you're paying out 70 cents. To date, we have paid out 0. So going back to our shtick, I guess. We have people in the insurance industry that have been doing this for hundreds, combined close to 150 years. And the actuarial people that do it, like they know how to price things, they know how to look at the risk. Our underwriters have been doing this a long time, and they can say, this. A hotel is a good example. Like we bring in external data sources. Like, has there been a bed bug outbreak recently? That's a good chance you're going to get sued if there's a place in the area that's been getting them. And so we know, like from the underwriters and the actuaries, that sort of different disparate data points that we need to pull in that can help us figure out what's the likelihood of a claim. And then, we provide that information to the underwriter, and they make the ultimate decision.
So how do you use the technology to like scale and augment these like very valuable, obviously, expensive resources?
Yes. And there's a lot of different ones, and, it goes back to the normal, how do we prioritize them? And there's different buckets, right? Like there's the expensive ones, like Dun & Bradstreet, that gets all the company data. Like what's the chance that they're going to go bankrupt in the next year? What's their financial outlook? What's how many employees? What's their revenue? Which is kind of a double check on the stuff that the brokers tell us. Then there's going out and searching Yelp and Instagram and Facebook. So like if we get a restaurant in and the restaurant says, yeah, we close at 12 and we don't serve liquor, but you go on Yelp and you see, hey, I blacked out here, and there's Instagram photos of people partying at 3 a.m., that's not true. And so, you can start throwing stuff out. So presenting stuff like that, and that's fun. And, obviously, everybody's hyped about AI and LLMs, and we've started to leverage them on a more mild scale. So being able to classify a risk as it comes in, there's a national, I forget the acronym, National Association of NAICS, and we classify the risk as they come in based off of a combination of things using LLM, which really helps our underwriters be like, oh, okay, we're really trying to focus on construction and manufacturing. We just got this company in that's H2C LLC, no idea what that is. We go out, we comb the internet, we present that for them so they can quickly be like, triaging, not important, I'll focus on something more important that needs to get out the door fast. So,
AI is the hot thing. So it would be, I would be remiss not to ask how you're doing it. Like what technology are you using? Can you share that?
Yeah, of course. So there's a combination. So one of the things that we're building right now is our clearance and submission portal. And so, going back to when I said it's antiquated, our customers, the way that they send us business and the way they do it across the industry is they send emails. That's all.
At least it's not a fax.
Yeah, well, I don't know. So far I haven't gotten one, but we probably need to be able to build for that. Hopefully not. So what we want to, like the gold standard would be, we get the email hits the inbox via OCR and AI. We in LLMs too, like read out the email body. Do we know if it's a rush request based off what they said and needs to get done today? But read the application that's structured sometimes. Read the ones that are unstructured most of the time. Pull all that data out, quickly clear it. So that we can know that it's something that we need to work on and we can work on. So can work on would be, is it within our appetite? Like we don't do habitational risk in Florida at the moment. So we could immediately discard that instead of having an underwriter work on it. Couple other things. And then we're close to doing that. So we've got like a proof of concept running. The gold standard would be one step further, taking all the information that they have given us, plus combing the Yelps and Instagram that I was talking about to present that full picture to the underwriter, and presenting like this based off the data they've given us is the premium that we should charge, and here are some levels of confidence, the different bands. That's what we want to get to. So right now, in terms of OCR, LLMs, AI, we're using a combination of OpenAI and GCP Gemini. We got some third-party vendors that are like Sensible that have been great, and they do more OCR heavy things for us. So we're focusing more on like the LLM side.
Have you heard of this next thing where personalized and customized LLMs were restricted, where you can put in restricted information and isolate it into like a smaller model that's more focused? There's a company out there that just released a Roombra.ai. Came from the Acorn guys, actually, the guys who invented Rancher and Kubernetes. So really cool. I haven't played around with it yet, but it looks to be like a good way of doing smaller models that can be perhaps it's meant for you to have a personal assistant, but there's no reason why it couldn't be used to tell you about someone else.
Yeah.
Because it by leveraging all the private data that you have, like all the scrapes, all the financial information, and putting it into, instead of like a large central model, into a unique person-based model that already has all your rules, all your underwriting rules, and then just their data.
Yeah, I love that.
So have you guys experimented with anything like that, or is it just more?
There's some things on GCP that they promise the same thing. We haven't gotten into that. Like right now, the way that I'm looking at it is, going back to the anecdotal story about being quick to generate that PDF. With the ones that are out there right now, I mean, they're based off our limited testing so far. I mean, that's like 70% accurate, which is way better than what's been out there so far. I mean, we've replaced some vendors that have been doing this for, a decade, not using LLM, and it's way better than that.
Well,
So I imagine we're going to get to the point at some point where it's going to be worth the time and the engineering resources to get into that. But so far, it's just like the bare minimum is so much better than what's already out there that we just haven't dedicated any effort to it.
do you think this is the revolution, or this is the next revolution?
We'll clarify that a little more.
All right, so in technology, we've had quite a few, I guess, ledges, ledges that
Nothing to do with Ledgebrook.
nothing to do with Ledgebrook, but ledges that signal a change of an error. Like when the iPhone came out, it was a change of an error, And we had smartphones before that. We had the Palm. We had, before they released the tablet, there was a Microsoft tablet, I think in '98. But the touch screen revolution and the mobile revolution really started happening in 2003, where it became mainstream. So it happened before with the semiconductors, late '80s. I don't know exactly. I was quite young then. But before we couldn't do stuff on a computer except with like a handy or like custom programming, and then all of a sudden we get a GUI.
Yeah.
Or I guess one was 3.1, or Windows 3, somewhere around 91.
Yeah.
So that was a revolution. We had a screen. We first had a processor, then we had a screen, then we had the mobile, the webs. So the internet was a revolution. And so now we have AI. And to me, it looks like everyone who's not using AI is going to fall behind.
I agree with that. Some pieces of it I do think are a little overblown. I mean, especially when the tons of developers, especially on the more junior side, are worried they hear we're not going to be able to have jobs anymore. I mean, obviously there's been a ton of layoffs, and don't get me wrong, but when I think about it and I see what it's capable of right now, it's like I can't. It's like if somebody came to me and said, "Hey, build this for me," which happens a lot, and they don't give you enough information, it's going to spew out crap. And then also, when you do use it for internal programming tasks, like it's wrong most of the time, but it's subtle, and so being able to figure out what was actually wrong, you have to know how to fix it and know the underlying system. What happened recently. So we use it to help generate unit tests a lot, but I did see that Facebook just released their model that actually it combs their code base and improves all their test as is, makes them faster, makes them more resilient, makes them better. Like that sort of stuff, I think is awesome. From the more insurance industry standpoint, I do see it, being, if you don't start using it soon, you're going to get left behind. And what I mean by that is, we're already using it to enhance our ability to generate quotes and speed to response to the brokers. And what I tell my team is, if we need to do this now, because in 5 years everybody's going to be doing it, and the acceleration with how fast it's changing and how much better it's getting. I mean, even GPT-3 to 4, when we were doing our classification comparisons on it, like it's leaps and bounds better. So I do think it's going to be, a generational shift. It's just a question of, what's it really going to, where's it really going to make the most impact? And at that right now, I couldn't tell you that.
How do you compare it to some of the other technology that's coming out, like AR, VR, or blockchain? Those technologies came out. AR came out a little bit before AI from a general standpoint, and so did blockchain. But those two did not have. It seemed like they didn't have those kind of properties where they were going to change everything.
So yeah, and I think the biggest thing is like it's so ubiquitous in the sense that you can use LLM for just about anything, right? I mean, in the sense that if from a knowledge worker standpoint, you can have it do so many different things. Blockchain, they tried to say it can do everything. Like you can do obviously finance on it, but you can do farm tech on it. You can do solar panels on it, and that didn't, I don't think, work out. No. And AR VR, same thing, right? Like it's a great use case. It's awesome to look at and watch, but your day in, day out, it's not something that I'm going to pick up. And the other thing that pops into my mind when I think about it is like it's changing behavior. Like blockchain and AR VR, like if you're not using it, like you have to try it out to understand what it's doing. This with LLM, especially like the chat GPT stuff, like you can just kind of use it as part of your everyday workbench, which makes it a little easier. You're not really changing behavior for people to go in and be like, ask this thing a question, help me write this Excel formula, help me write this email. So that's why I think it's going to be a lot more used.
Yeah, I mean, Google already taught us how to ask a question. I think we've had like 20 plus years of learning how to ask the computer things.
Well, as a programmer, we're good at it, but I'm sure like most people aren't that good at asking Google a question.
So before we switch topics from Ledgebrook, you guys are hiring? Are you still looking for people? Or?
Yeah, we are. We're looking for cloud infrastructure first and foremost. We've got people that have done it in the past, but we're looking for somebody that's what they get their hands dirty with, and then QA automation, and then full stack.
Yeah, cool. All right. Well, so let's talk about you personally. You're a tech guy. You made it to be a CTO. How did you get here? Technically.
Technically. My background is definitely not normal for getting here, I don't think. So I started my career in finance and accounting. So I started at PwC in capital markets advisory, doing advisory, how do we do complex accounting transactions, and it's just as boring as it sounds. And the joke I tell all the time is, I wanted to do something more creative, and when you do creative stuff in the accounting world, you tend to wind up in prison. So I coded from a pretty young age already. Like we would build multi-user dungeons in Python on Telnet back in the day. Me and my brother would. And I got lucky. I had somebody that wanted to do a startup that did accounting for law firms, and so that's how I got started. We did that for 2 or 3 years, and then.
So wait, your first, sorry to interrupt, but your first entry into tech was at a startup?
It was. It was a startup. It was back when Ruby on Rails was the big thing, and so I got into that, and we actually had a few clients, but it wasn't something that was going to be able to survive off of. So when that I was doing that, and then I also just ended up working at a coding boot camp too. So those were like the first two things that I was doing out of college that weren't finance and accounting. And then I went into healthcare for most of a decade, I guess. So a combination of pharmacogenomics, which means like drug-gene interactions. I was
More
there.
exciting stuff.
Yeah, more exciting, a lot more exciting. Helping save lives.
That is actually pretty exciting.
Yeah. I was there, and then a couple other places, and then I went over to fintech at a startup unicorn called Clearco. And the cool thing about all those different places is you can translate a lot of what you've done in other industries to work in this new industry. I mean, and obviously there are going to be some subtleties and nuances, but from like an underlying systems perspective, there's a lot of things that are the same, a lot of similarities. And so going to Ledgebrook, how did I wind up there? I had built a product at Clearco that on the side that I wanted to use. And what I did was it listened to Kubernetes network traffic and generated open API documentation. Because one of the things that I've noticed everywhere I've gone is documentation sucks. And nobody wants to build it. That's what I wanted to do, was start that. And I had two people that said they were willing to pay for it. And so I was going out and be like, I needed to raise money. And I talked to somebody I went to college with that works at a venture capital group. And they said, this is something that you might be able to raise money for, but it's August 2022, when things had just, nobody's just throwing money out hand over fist anymore. And they said, but we did just invest in this company. You should talk to Gage, the CEO of Ledgebrook, and see what you think. And talked to him and was very impressed. And that's how I ended up there. So, when I think about what really matters, obviously, you need to understand the technology, but what really sets people apart is your network and how you communicate, and just being out there. Because if I hadn't have made that call, I wouldn't be here, if that makes sense.
It does. I think with startups, especially, even as a tech guy, you have to go out there and you have to make things happen for yourself or for the company. I found that dealing with the technology issues, they're not. A lot of times it's people issues behind the technology.
Very much so.
And sometimes there's really nothing more effective than picking up the phone, sending an email, or just directly communicating with whoever's responsible for whatever you want, or impeding you in progress.
I mean, one of the things that people love about what we're doing internally at Ledgebrook is they have some battle scars when people say we're going to build new tech. And the way that they've seen it in the past, and the way that I've seen it a lot of places too, is the tech guys, they like to call us the IT guys, would be like, okay, what do you need? And I'll be like, this is what we need. And then they disappear for 2 years. And then at the end of 2 years, be like, here it is. And by that time, one, the requirements were probably wrong, but two, the requirements have changed. So it's as simple as getting in front of the end user early and often. And we do that, and they're beyond happy. Like, I can't explain how complimentary they are. Something as simple as that, and it just goes back to like what you're saying. It's all about communication and getting to the user.
So it sounded a little bit like you were talking about agile as well. So if you're constantly delivering, constantly communicating, and changing requirements, it sounds very much like you guys practice some form of agile.
Yeah. I have mixed feelings about, like, if you look at like the Agile Manifesto, that's great. People over process, love that. That makes sense. I think it gets butchered in most places that I've been. It's like, okay, somebody comes in, they're the agile practitioner, and they're like, okay, we're gonna do the 2 week sprint. We're gonna cram everything in. We're gonna point everything. But going back to the core bullet, like they put their process over the people, and so we definitely practice it in a very I'll say loose way. We like each team gets to define how they want to do it. It ends up being Kanban across the board. But the primary thing that I say is, we're presenting in front of the group every week just to see what's out there. We're going to present something, even if it's just a PowerPoint. I don't care. But like, let's show what we're working on. Tell them what's been released, and yeah, it's working so far. I'm sure it'll run into some hurdles, so we'll have to change it up. But that's the process, right? I mean, that's the point of it.
How big is your tech team?
At the moment, we're just got a new offer out. When he starts, it'll be 15 people.
Early on, and room for 2 or 3 more. So
well, 2 plus full stack. I mean, there's going to be more than one. But yeah, we're definitely. I imagine we'll be around 30 by the end of the year.
Awesome. Well, congrats on all the success, and good luck on all the hard work you got ahead of you. Let's talk about, what gets you up in the morning, other than obviously having to do this wonderful podcast.
What gets me up? The things that really get me up in the morning, and it gets me up every morning, is my 1.5-year-old that wakes up at 5:30, screaming that he wants to get out of bed and saying, "Dad, dad, 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 dad." And somehow, I think in his mind, he has switched dada for mama and mama for dada, because when I walk in, he says mama, but he wanted dada, which is mama. I don't know how that happened, but they get me up every morning in a good way.
That's awesome. Yeah, I think mine was a 4 a.m. this morning.
Yeah. I'm definitely not a morning person either, but for the past 3.5 years, I have been.
So what would you recommend for people that want to get motivated? Is it have kids and
that's the secret? That's the secret, Get motivated.
Burden yourself with responsibilities.
I was thinking, because you did send me that question, and I was thinking about what really gets me excited, and I just love to build things. When I'm more hands-on code, and I'm slowly but surely getting less and less hands-on code, which it's not my favorite thing in the world. But when I'm building things, I have a hard time going to sleep at night thinking about, if I could just do this, then that would fix that issue, and then if I do fall asleep, I wake up early, and that's, I don't know, it's like this innate thing, this I want to continue building. It's so gratifying. With the feedback loop of being able to just type some stuff onto this computer and watch it change and then release it out to the public. That I don't know. It's not a great answer, because I don't have a great answer.
It's a wonderful answer. Yeah. You build stuff.
Yeah.
I mean, I identify with that so much. I had a hard time going to sleep last night. I was building a at-home lab for my cloud ops job, where I need virtualization, and I can't be going to the data center every time. So is it go to sleep, or is it put this SSD in and install Harvester and get it running? So I identify with that a lot, and I think anyone who's going to be watching us is going to identify with that too.
Yeah, and I mean, and going back to getting I don't know, advancing, if you want to call it that. I think a lot of my success has been that. It's I enjoy it, so I'm happy to spend, and I don't recommend working crazy hours, but I'm happy to do that in my free time, actually sitting down and finishing a project or something. And if you have that, the sky's the limit.
I love it, man. Any last words?
No, I mean, this has been fun. I'm glad you invited me down here.
Thanks for coming. And yeah, for those of you at home, if y'all want to join us, we'll go live every Monday morning at 7. And if you're a CTO or a tech leader at a startup and want to talk to me, send me a note. Thanks, y'all. Have a great day.